don't allow like your loyalty to make you follow someone somewhere you know you don't need to be.
Mm.
I would definitely say that. In the process of like doing things for me, growing myself and trying to be a better person, I've realized that sometimes you got what I'm saying. I am a loyal person. You got what I'm saying? I'm a protector. I've always been a protector. Most of the jobs I've ever had in life is along that route. And so for me, you know, yeah, occasionally my loyalty has had me a couple times holding on to things I should have let go of.
Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones.
Hey, what? What? Hold on. Said what? Hey, skirt. Woo! Y'all know what you're dealing with. I say, you know what you're dealing with, right? It's been a little bit. It's been a little bit. Because it's been a little bit, you might have missed your boy, okay? You looking at your boy, it's hats off with your boy G Dash Jones. Yes, 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 yes. Happy New Year. Guess who made it? You did. We made it all the way to season 4. What? Season 4. What? Y'all know what it is. I told you getting the keys from the gatekeepers. I told you. I told you talking change with the change makers. Okay. I said we talking flavor with the taste makers. Oh Lord. I gotta get extra because I made it to a season 4 for y'all. Okay, I gotta get a little bit of put a little sauce on that. Gotta put a little sauce on that. Cause Mama I made it. Okay, Mama I made it. So and I thank you. I thank you for being here with me. I told you. Now, hold up. I only dropped it for a second. Skirt! Again, that was Yikes Lee featuring Mano Fresh and J Poppy. The Truth Hurts. Salute to all of them. Mano Fresh, J Poppy, Laboratory Boys in the building. Yikes Lee. Track is on fire. It's on all streaming services. Again, that's called The Truth Hurts. Go and peep that at your earliest convenience. At the earliest convenience. Again, while you're peeping that, don't forget about that Hats Off playlist. This is the soundtrack from Volume 3. I put all the songs that I opened up with, all my theme music, opened it up opened all of that up, put it all on a playlist. It's available on YouTube. It's available for Spotify. It's available on Tidal. You know, depending on how you get your bops on, the playlist, the soundtrack is ready just for you. Okay. So in my bio, I got my link tree. You can go ahead and listen to that there. Go ahead, just tap yours and get your bops on. Okay, I said tap yours and get your bops on. Also, you'll also see tickets for Battle of the Hearts. yeah. February 14th. It's like an artistic emporium. I'll circle back to that in a minute. Now, in case you don't know, now my guest today, when I tell you he's a prolific poet, say what? Yes. Words strike hard. You just, oh, what? I can't believe. How did he make me feel this way? 100% prolific penmanship. When he's spitting, he also has had the venue open mics. Yes. We not done. Businessman, veteran. What? 100%. Yes, and mm, mm, and he also hosts a show called Mind of the Storm. I said he hosts the show Mind of the Storm. Y'all see him, okay? Y'all see him, okay? I can't control it. I didn't know he was gonna pop up. Had nothing to do with that. Just bam on screen, like my man, Michael Storm Miller. How are you, good brother?
I'm all right. I can't complain. Thank you for having me out.
Definitely my pleasure to get you here. My pleasure to get you here. Now, tell people a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am actually 51 years old. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, the Army for 7 years. I'm a spoken word artist. I've performed all across the country. I've worked with an organization up in Philadelphia called the Warrior Writers, which are veterans, and we give people that military, experience. It's always been my goal to kind of like bridge the gap in understanding between civilians and the military, because most of what people get about service members they get through TV. So they expect you to come home from war, be shell shocked, jump under somebody's couch. It's always like the worst things that people typically get, or you like 007, and yeah, you don't want to piss this guy off because he knows how to kill you in 27 ways with a toothpick and a napkin, you know? And so I like to kind of get the conversation started on things like that with people so that we have a better idea of each other. Because even coming back to civilian life, I know it sounds crazy. You started off as a civilian, but you end up as a vet, and it's like just two totally different things.
Okay. Now that actually brings me to where I'm at, where I wasn't gonna start, but I am gonna start here. What led you even into joining the military?
Oddly enough, I'm a father of five. I have five daughters. Don't ask. I got five daughters. Five daughters. I always say, God must. I must have did something somewhere because all girls, man. But when my first daughter was born, um, I had a fire at my house. I just had to do something. Coming from the hood and all, you got what I'm saying? I did have a job working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, but it wasn't enough to sustain, my new family. I couldn't afford a place to live, even though prices were cheaper back in the 90s. And I had to make a move. And besides that, I was in two different branches of the military, but my father before me was in the army and he was in the navy. You got what I'm saying? So it was kind of like a no brainer in a sense. I wasn't thinking, let me protect my country, let me fight for what's right. But when I chose to go into a branch, I chose the Marine Corps because I wanted to be a part of the best. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it.
Okay, okay. So you had to make something shake. So you say, all right, well, fine, might as well fight. Now, were you already a poet at that time?
Believe it or not, like the first piece of poetry I've ever written, honestly, was like, and I'm gonna say like the second grade. I was always an avid reader. I read and read and read, and once again, like I come from the hood, so when I was a little boy, like in kindergarten, we actually had gotten evicted from our home, and me, my older brother, and my sister, we had to move in with our aunt. My mom was trying to get us back and forth to school, work, and everything else. So I missed a lot of school, and I had to wind up repeating. You know what I mean? And so by the time I was in second grade, I was really supposed to be in third grade, but I just always read a lot. I always had a thirst for learning, you know. And so it kind of came naturally. I just loved words.
Okay. So so from the gate, kindergarten, you know, you writing poetry, you getting it in, right? Now, when did you kind of get comfortable with your poetry?
Man, oof. Let me tell you. So in writing poetry, now I know poetry is poetry, but to me, there's always been a difference in I'm gonna say the genres of poetry in a way. You got what I'm saying? So by the time I got to, let's say, spoken word, I met a girl at work who did spoken word. Her name was Kelly Cocktails, and she used to spit like when we was on break and everything. And I told her I wrote too, and she encouraged me to write, and she invited me out to a performance of some poets. It was a group of ladies called the Lady of Four, I believe it was the Ladies of Four, and they had a spot on an open mic, and she was friends with them, and she got me on. And the first one I ever did, I read off a piece of paper, and my voice was steady, but like the paper was like this. I was nervous as I don't know what, and I did it. And it took me a while to actually get comfortable with myself. Like I felt like I was telling my truth. I felt like I was speaking my words, but I had always felt inadequate because whenever I hear other people, I was always in awe. And it took me quite some time. I'm gonna say probably till I want to say my late 20s before I actually started feeling confidence in myself because I had learned that, it's not about everybody has a different style, everybody has a different way of telling their story. And so you're not there speaking to everybody, you're speaking to who you're speaking to. And sometimes, unbeknownst to you, you become somebody's favorite poet. Somebody says something to you, and then you like, wow. Yeah, I think that's how you even figure in a way like I must be doing really good when somebody goes out of their way to say something to you, and it makes you feel like wow. But I still uh, struggle not with confidence, but I still struggle with accolade.
Okay. Okay. Now I gotta back it up. So because if this happened when you were in your mid 20s, you getting comfortable, or you started getting comfortable on stages, then that means that happened while you were in the military.
Um, yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
it happened shortly after the military because when I joined the military, I was still a freaking teenager. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I left after like a year after high school. I left. So basically, I was 20 actually. So a year after high school, I left. Freaking, I went into the Marine Corps. I did 8 years, but it's kind of like you do four. Then I had gotten out for a little bit and did like reserve or whatnot. And then you have to like muster every year and all these other things you got to do or whatnot. So that brings me to my 8 good years. You got what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
Once I was
And
like home, I started like go. I met her and we slowly but surely started going out. And that's kind of like where it was at.
got you. So okay. So pretty much you started getting on stages after the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Uh, after that first eight in the Marine Corps, but then you
Yeah.
went back into the Army.
Yeah. I went back to the Army in 2007.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, and just because I'm gonna tell you what's interesting to me, right? People don't, and you know this, people don't typically assume or think of military men as the writers that they can be, right? Or the creatives that they can be, right? Like you said, there's a stigma that I got gun, I can knock out. We can, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's hey, we snapping necks, you know what I'm saying? It's shit, yeah. Okay. Like, but it's not like, well, hold on. Let's be studious here. Like they don't put that on y'all, they don't put that on y'all jacket. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all can get a Purple Heart. Y'all can't get the studious badge. I don't know why. So, but so that makes me have to ask that between that first time and that second time when you go into the Army, you're a poet. Like you're writing, you performed, you're that. So what was it like then? Were you still writing and once you were in the Army? Were you spitting it to the guys? Like when y'all bored, like what was that like?
Well, believe it or not, um, the only time that I stepped on stage as a soldier, going from the Marine Corps, being a Marine, and then going in to be a soldier, was when we was in the war in Afghanistan. So when you're at war, a lot of times people try to do stuff to make you feel more at home. And so there was a guy named Christopher Katz, and he was mixed, and he called himself Spoken Swirl. It was funny, but they started a cafe out there on like the far side of the base, and it was called the Afghanistan Cafe. And what we would do is we would get a Hummer or whatever the case may be, and we would go around and you just sign a list. And it was such a cool vibe because it was so many people there enjoying the poetry. It was so many people there. So many poets came through, and you got to realize it's a culmination of people across the United States. You got what I'm saying? So you heard like so many different things, so many different accents, so many different POVs. You got what I'm saying? So it was like I'm telling you, it was probably one of the best times of my life. I had crazy stuff happen, but it was still one of the best times of my life.
That's dope. And I'm gonna tell you what's deep to me about that is I know like the Afghanistan war is the longest war in American history, right?
Yeah,
So 20 years essentially is what it's listed as,
yeah,
right? Now so understanding that that's long enough that you got to do some home type of stuff. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Like you better find a way to get comfortable because it's
yeah.
real, right?
Man,
Um,
the realest
now,
I've ever done. Believe you me, it's real as hell. Yeah.
and how did being in those environments how did that affect your pen?
Um. Well, the funny part about everything is, I've always been the type of person where if I wanted to do something, I just did it. I made up my mind like, yeah, I'm getting ready to do this, and I would just do it. You know, in the beginning, I would do things, but I would always not be totally confident about it. But there were times that I chose not to go out, chose not to do things, and during the war, I was on a mission in September, and I had gotten blown up. From getting blown up, I had traumatic brain injury. Funny thing about traumatic brain injury is it kind of affects people in different ways, and so it messed with my not my ability to walk or talk or anything, but it actually messed with how I spoke. Like I couldn't find the right words. I couldn't remember all my kids' names. You got what I'm saying? It's just things like that. It takes all of your common sense away. You got what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody in your audience may know somebody who may have had like a traumatic brain injury, but it took me a while to get that back. I could type fine, I could write fine, but just speaking, like I would say, "Hey, I'm getting ready to go to the garbage dump to get bread and motor oil." You got what I'm saying? And it wouldn't make sense. But in the very beginning, I couldn't even really get that far. You know, it's like the wrong words would come out, or I would forget where I was going in a conversation or whatever. So nothing really came out right. You got what I'm saying? So I could write fine. I could talk fine. I could write fine. I could type fine. But I wound up having to really go through some changes. And I remember like praying to God, man. And I was like, listen, you know, and it brings a new definition to like prayer. I was like, Lord, you know, if you let me freaking talk again, if you let me talk right again, because communication was like one of my biggest things. I was like, I promise you, you know, I'm going to say whatever it is you need me to say. I'm going to do what I need to do. I won't take talking for granted.
Mm.
I'll never take talking for granted ever again in my life. And when I need to say something, I'm going to say it. You know, whether I do it as tactful as I can, but I'm going to say what I need to say, you know,
Mm.
be responsible with those words.
Yes, that okay. So as a poet in the military, explosions happen, bong, brain thrown off, boom. Now you're writing words. You know the words that you're writing when you're
Bro,
trying to say them, they don't come out.
bro.
It's like that. I don't even remember the movie it was. When the mouth was closed up, it was like
Yeah,
when you couldn't. Like it's like I don't know how to say it. Like I know it. I can my brain can think the word. Like you can hear it in your
yeah.
head, but you can't actually physically say the words.
You know what the weird part is? The crazy part about like brain injury, our brains are very remarkable. And for me, once I started speaking right again and everything, and even now when I talk, sometimes it's hard to find words. Sometimes when I perform, sometimes in the middle, if somebody talks or says something, it'll blank my mind, which sometimes keeps me from performing because if somebody paid to get in a place, I like the professionalism of being able to do what it is they came to see. You got what I'm saying? But it's crazy because um I see I just did it. I just forgot where I was going. It's crazy because it's one of those things where oh I got it. So things that I knew, like from beginning to end. You know how you know a song from beginning to end, and it could be your favorite song. I would get halfway through and forget, and then there were things that I wrote one time. You know, sometimes you write something, you look at it, and you never do it. You never share it. You never nothing. It's just in a book sitting somewhere, and I will remember the whole thing. Like I just wrote it yesterday, and it kind of showed me something. Like I always think, like nothing is by accident. I do believe the universe is always talking to you. I think you'll never hear God's voice, but He's always talking to you. It's just up to us to open up our freaking ears and open up our eyes and truly listen. Because the lesson that I kind of learned from that is we are powerful, man. We just don't pay attention. We don't pay attention because I'm like, how could I possibly remember something that I never paid attention to? I wrote it. I didn't really like it. I was like, I might have needed to tweak it a whole lot. And I'm just like, you know what? It just don't make the cut. But it was a message in that. And maybe that's why I remembered this. So once again, it was just a way of showing me, well, maybe you're taking your purpose for granted. You if you write something, maybe it needed to be said. You're not always going to like what you do, but that doesn't mean it's not going to touch somebody else. You know, you might not always feel the message, but the message may not be for you. You know,
Mm. I like to talk to my audience. By the way, if you don't know, you're watching Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones. Oh, and I got the man, the myth, the legend, brother Storm up here. Podcast host, content creator, veteran, big owner, businessman, all the things, and poet. And one of the things I want you in the back, ones who's not confident about what your art is, wasn't sure if you liked your art. Guess what? At the point in which you give it to the world, it ain't yours no more. Let them have it. Let
yeah,
them have it. Let them take in that art. Let
yeah,
them feel how it made them feel. You ain't gotta like it. It ain't
yeah.
about you. It's listen. It's speaking through you. That's what that is. That's what that art is. Now, okay. Now, how long? All right. So now you had to, and it's weird because it's not even that you had to learn to talk. You just had to have faith and patience because it was going to come when it came. There was nothing to teach yourself. You just had to keep trying, and eventually words start coming and poems start coming. So, how long was it before you were confident to get back on the stage?
Honestly, I still struggle with that today. I still get out and do stuff, but on occasion, I get invited a lot of places or whatnot. I feel most comfortable though doing my military poetry. And I don't know what it is, which once again, it kind of makes me feel like, well, okay, this is your purpose. You got what I'm saying? I typically do way better with my military poetry than what I do with I call it my regular poetry and my military poetry. I typically do better with my own military poetry. You got what I'm saying?
Okay. And now, so now let's go here. How did, based on your time in the military and even the explosion and all those things, how did it affect your creative process, like the process that you go through at creating the poetry?
Honestly, I think brother, it made me look at life through just different lenses. It made me realize a few things. You gotta realize, like, okay, so if you could imagine, like every time I would go on a mission, right? Prior to me leaving my area, I would fold my sheets and stuff. I would make sure I got all of my laundry together. I would pack it up. I would pack up all my personal belongings and everything because in my mind's eye, in order to do my job, I had already accepted that I wasn't coming back. And so I would pack up my stuff every single time I left outside the wire because I did not want my fellow soldiers to have to go through a whole lot when they was inventorying my things. I didn't want them handling dirty clothes or taking out my trash or nothing else because it's hard when you have to bury your brother. Even I had some friends die when we was out there. And literally when we did their memorial service, I had wrote a poem. It's actually in one of the military magazines. You got what I'm saying? And when you do something like that, when you prepare yourself like that, and when you accept the fact that, okay, you might not come back, let me tell you, it made me realize that I'm nothing. And every time I say that to people, I get people who get mad at me, literally upset for me at me for saying that. But I tell them, you gotta understand, the moment that you realize that you literally don't matter in any way, shape, or form to anybody, the only time you truly matter in life is when people need you or when people have use for you. It frees you from a whole lot of things. It allowed me to understand that now I can be anything. I can literally be anything I want to be. You got what I'm saying? And everybody might not follow that logic, but for me, a lot of times we're not humble enough. A lot of times we just we don't get it. We think we're deserving of everything. Let me tell you something. I went on leave and with a group of soldiers. We came back literally once mission started rolling. After we got back, boom, people were gone just like that. People who wives I just met, who families I just met, was just like that. And then at the end of it all, people come in, they pack your stuff up, they ship it off. We go to the tarmac. We watch a ramp ceremony, and just like that, just like that, life is such a limited subscription.
Mm.
Limited subscription. You can only subscribe to it for just like so long, and it's not a sad thing because life is beautiful. And it got me thinking to myself, we went on leave. Like if they never went on leave and went on mission, they would have been gone and never saw their family again from the date we left. But they had a beautiful opportunity. And my whole thought process was, damn, I wonder what they did when they was home. I wonder what did they experience? And it taught me how valuable my time is. And I don't mean valuable like for anybody else. My time don't mean nothing to nobody, but it means something to me. You get what I'm saying? Means something to me.
Now, again, in case y'all don't know, you watch your hats off with your boy G Dash Jones, and I got my man Storm here. Okay, and I gotta ask this, right? Because what it sounds like is the loss that you went through in the military and kind of the changing of how you value things in there. I'm just curious, how did how did you maintain self-worth or self-value while shedding people, right? While shedding how was some, pretty much people, not just the judgment of them, but the feeling of people needing you, or all of those things that you just spoke of. How do
Yeah.
you still maintain self-worth, self-value while looking through that lens?
Well, it doesn't mean that I don't show up for people that need me. So what happens is this. I know probably sound weird, but I have such a different. I'm telling you, having near death experiences and stuff, it really does change your outlook on life. So my outlook is this: we're all selfish. We all are selfish. We all are selfish. If you see somebody hungry on the street and you give them money or you go buy them a sandwich or whatever it is that you do, I personally feel, it don't have to be nobody else's feeling, but I personally feel that you don't do it to ease their suffering, you do it to ease your own. You saw something you did not like. You saw something that hit you in a wrong way. You got something you wanted to create balance to your day. You got what I'm saying? And so what you did was went over and you bought them a sandwich. Now let's look at things. In reality, the one sandwich wouldn't change their life. And some people, like me personally, when I give somebody something, I give them a couple dollars. But I know a lot of people who will say, "Oh, I ain't gonna give nobody money." but I'll buy them something to eat. See, it's the way we look at things, and we got it all messed up. Why would I buy somebody something to eat when they may have eaten already? They might have a sandwich they're going to eat later. They might actually need the money. They might be saving up to get a room to wash their behind. You know what I mean? They might need some clean socks or something. I don't know. So it's not up to me to decide. If he asks me, did I have change? I'm going to give him change because that's what he asked me for. And believe it or not, I equate that to stuff like even in our neighborhoods and stuff. Well, I don't know what your neighborhood is, but in my neighborhood, you'll have people come to the community and they'll do coat drives, right? So they don't ask people, what do your children need? They do a coat drive, assuming all children need coats. And then what happens is people go around and hit the different places. They'll get like 5, 6 coats, and then they'll be out trying to sell coats or whatever to make a little extra cash or something. You got what I'm saying? So you didn't actually take care of a need. You felt uncomfortable with a situation and you did what you wanted to do so you can add balance to your life. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. But now, what I want to ask you, and I kind of want to spin it around a bit, right?
Okay.
Because the other side of this is when you look at things and you say, all right, people can be self-serving in how they move, therefore the need is what can drive people closer to you or away from you, or what
Yeah.
and whatnot, right? But then for you, it made you feel free to have that epiphany. But there's also a level of you understanding your self-worth amongst this world,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
saying, hey, you know what, amongst this their viewpoint, I am nothing, as you said, right? But on the same sense, still maintaining a value of self, a value of self-worth. How does that balance for you?
Okay. So this is why I say, and like I said, I know it's weird to kind of hear, but
I like this. I'm
all
a fan.
we think we have control over ourselves. Everybody think they got control over their situations and everything, but we don't have control over ourselves. Let me tell you something. You can't even, and I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it, but you can't stop yourself from sneezing half the time. If you have to go to the bathroom, half the time you can't stop it. You can hold it, but only for so long. We really have no control over anything. You got what I'm saying? And I think that the thing that allows me to keep the self the value that I have for myself alive. You got what I'm saying? Because realizing that I'm nothing, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think that I have, any value. I have value to people. You got what I'm saying? Because I believe that everything is kind of service. Everything is kind of service based. You get what I'm saying? Like from loving people, it's service based. If you don't love somebody the way that they need to be loved, then they're going to say you don't love them. Even though you love them at the greatest capacity that you can love them, it may have just not been enough. So everything is kind of service based. What I do personally is I work on me. Let me be the best me that I could be in every single situation, and people will benefit from that as a byproduct of me focusing in on me, being the best me that I can be. So every day that I get in there and I try to correct something about myself I don't like, every time I sit back and I think about the thoughts that I think, every time that I try to be a little better than what I was yesterday, then the people who know me and the people who are connected to me in any way, shape, or form, they benefit. They benefit from my epiphanies. They benefit from my conversations. They benefit from what they see as my kindness. But when I'm just trying to ease my pain, I don't want to see people that I care about hurting. I don't. That's why I do. It's not like them going through pain. The reality is we all go through pain. You can't stop that. We all will have loss. We all will have gain. We all will make mistakes. We all will fall. We all will say bad stuff to ourselves, worse stuff that we can say to ourselves than anybody else can. So all of these things are going to happen. That is a reality. So my reality is that, okay, I don't want to see this suffrage. And this is why I call it selfish. And most people might not understand that because it's not about the person that's going through what they're going through. It's about how I feel about it. And if I feel I can do something, then I do it. You get what I'm saying?
I 100%, I 100% understand
Yeah.
the viewpoint, and a lot of things for people tend, from that viewpoint, a lot of things tend to be transactional, right? A lot of things tend to be, like you said, it's service based,
Yeah, they are.
or it's that old saying of perception is reality, and then everything else stemming from that, right?
Mhm.
Now, do you believe perception is reality? I'm just curious.
No, I believe perception is perception. Reality is reality. Like right now, if it's 32 degrees outside, you could be freezing your freaking balls off. Me personally, I could be like, oh man, this is comfortable. The only reality is that it's 32 degrees. Everything else is just how we feel about it. So then you're going to do something based off of how you feel. And whenever feelings is involved, it's not reality, but the world got us believing that our feelings are real. Feelings are temporary. They change on a daily basis. They change on a daily basis. And when you think that your feelings trump reality, you're going to get a rude awakening every single time because your feelings ain't reality. It'll have you running around here mad at somebody you should be freaking getting over it and forgiving them. You got what I'm saying? It'll have you losing somebody that you really needed. Because sometimes we'll cut our nose off despite our faces just because we feel a certain type of way. But your feeling is never reality. I if I get upset at somebody, I don't argue with anybody. I always say this, you know what? I can't deal with this right now. And I don't say you're getting on my nerves because I'm not trying to avoid what you're saying. You got what I'm saying? I will say if somebody is yelling at me, like, hey, we can't get nothing done if you're yelling at me because you're not talking to me. You got what I'm saying? You're just harshly explaining your feelings over a situation you don't agree with. And you're trying to verbally beat me into agreeing with you. And people don't like that. As soon as you say something like, and this is what I talk about reality, that is the reality. That's the reality. You got what I'm saying? Everything else is just how you feel. So get over yourself. I get angry at stuff. I get upset about stuff all the time. But I remind myself, brother, what does your feelings mean to anybody? The only time people will act like your feelings mean something to them is when they're not mad at you. And I don't care the person who loved you the most. If they decided in a moment they felt you were wrong, your feelings don't mean nothing. And they will harshly say, well, a lot of times people, this is why I say be responsible for your words. Because after this feeling passes, you're going to want to love me again. But maybe you said too much. Maybe I can never look at you the same. Because what you said to me, words are important. You got to be responsible for what you say. Because once it leaves your lips, I believe you. Especially if you ain't never gave me no reason not to. Once it leave your lips, I believe you. If you said it, it was in your heart. The whole time it was in your heart. You just been hiding it from me. You got what I'm saying? You just been feeling bad in moments or feeling bad for me in a moment where you may not have wanted to say it because you didn't want to hurt my feelings, not knowing that maybe it wouldn't have hurt my feelings. Maybe it would have just you would have been honest with me and gave me an opportunity to choose what I wanted to do based off your honesty. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways to handle those situations, but I definitely understand kind of receiving that and managing that as a whole, and kind of trying to navigate this human space with those emotions just
Yeah.
sitting there. Okay.
We
Um,
flash in the pan, bro. We only here, I'm telling you, limited time subscription. You only going to be for so many years. And this is the crazy part. They can tell you the average lifespan of a black male, white male, Asian male, white woman, black woman, Puerto Rican woman. But at the end of the day, that average lifespan, it doesn't mean you're going to make it there. And it doesn't mean that that is where you'll stop. So we don't know how long we're here. So you best look at reality and leave your damn feelings alone. Feel what you gotta feel, but don't project anything on top of somebody, because once you start doing stuff, your feelings become reality because they became your actions. Actions are reality. That's what I believe. Your actions are your reality. Your feelings are your feelings.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, um, I can't wait to. At some point, you're gonna have to come back because I can tell that there's so much for us to talk about, to unpack. It was like so much
Sure.
to unpack. But I want to go here. I don't want to miss this. Uh, you the I'm just curious, would you encourage somebody to be in the military based on how it has affected you, the lessons that you've learned, and even some of these raw epiphanies that you've had? Is that something that you would encourage, and all the politics behind it in this era?
Honestly, I would. Is it racism in the military? It is. Is everybody in the military racist? No. I found out so many different things from being in the military. Coming from, like, I grew up fighting. Man, I used to fight all the time. I got 7 brothers and 1 sister. My whole life has been fighting and the whole 9 yards. Crazy part about everything is living in the hood for so long, I came in contact with Caucasian people, but not a lot. Believe it or not a whole
Mhm.
lot.
I know,
Maybe
I know.
you might have teachers. When you go to like Kmart when that was open or whatever the case may be, you were going to their neighborhoods. But when I was little, sometimes some of these little boroughs around here, they'll chase you out, or the cops will follow you out, or they'll make you leave. That happened in my lifetime. You know what I mean? So what I wound up Jesus, it just happened again, bro. That happened in my lifetime. So, and this is what I talk about with like TBI, because you get to certain spaces and sometimes it just go away. You say, "Oh yeah, I got it." So the crazy part about everything is when I got to the military, I can remember the first time I felt like I had a racist experience is when the drill instructor, who was a white guy, got in my face and started yelling at me and calling me homeboy. You got what I'm saying? But he was spitting in my face,
Mm.
spitting in my face while he was yelling at me. Funny part about everything is I fought my whole life. I used to knock people out. I fought my whole life. Crazy part about everything is I knew I couldn't beat this dude. I knew I couldn't. He wasn't even a big guy, but I knew his training. I knew I couldn't take him. You get what I'm saying? And even if Hollywood just made that a thought process for me, you got what I'm saying? And so I treated it like it was a reality. But he had credentials, so yeah, I definitely couldn't beat him. So I felt like he was only yelling in my face and calling me homeboy because I was black and he was white. Second time it happened, I was in a bathroom and one of the recruits, a white guy named Patrick, I'll never forget it. Patrick, if you watching, you know what I'm saying is true and you know it's funny. So he said to me, we was in a bathroom washing our hands. Because they got like just an open area with a bunch of toilets. So anytime you sit down, you're looking at the brother across from you. And so this white guy said to me, Miller, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, what's good? He was like, how'd you get the palms of your hands so white? And bro, I balled up my fist, feeling like I'm about to run up in this dude's mouth. But I looked at him, and I swear to God, all I could see in his eyes was this was a real question. It was a real
Okay.
question. But hold on, I'm gonna tell you how it was a real question. And I paused and I said, what you mean how I got the palms of my hands so white? He was like, he didn't live around black people. That's the first time I learned black people don't live everywhere in America. You know when they say we like 13% of the population, it's a true statement. They don't we're not everywhere. And so what happens is they get their information either from the adults in their life that raised them or from TV. That's why a lot of times they try to assimilate our music and everything else because to them, we're something they never saw before. But if you take away race, it's the same way somebody watches Rocky and they want to be Rocky. Or you watch the Five Deadly Venoms when they used to come on Kung Fu Theater on the weekends. You watch this karate flick and the kids outside like, hi, trying to assimilate, the Asian actors that are acting like they're ninjas or something else because they're like, oh man, this is the coolest thing you ever saw. And we become taboo. Oh, you don't want to be, you can't be around them. You can't trust them. Oh, I don't want you listening to that music and this. So we become taboo. And who in life doesn't want taboo items? You get what I'm saying? And so when we started having conversations, I started understanding it was a whole lot of people in there that honestly, they just never had good experiences. Now, I don't mean everybody in that joint, nah, because everybody don't come from the country. Everybody's not in these rural areas and everything else where black folk just ain't living. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I understand what you're saying. I think that that's very interesting. I think it gives a clear lens of what diversity,
Yeah,
what diversity really is versus what we can think it is, right?
and
Um,
we're told it is.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, and okay, now again, turning it around on you because I'm just curious. Do you, when you look at what the military is for you, and you, like, as you said, you would recommend it? Is it? Do you separate it from government?
Oh yeah. The military industrial complex is something way different than the government. You got what I'm saying? Yes, the government don't decide where I'm stationed at. You got what I'm saying? The military decides where I'm going. The government can send the military to war, but the military and the government is two separate entities. Now we do have a commander in chief, which is the president, but all things all things understood, the reality of things is this. If the crap hit the fan and let's say a general decided, nah, this ain't gonna go this way, guess what? It ain't gonna go this way. So many things we believe are honestly fallacies. It's why we have so many differences of opinion in life because people believe blindly. It's like even in religion, people believe blindly. They don't question anything. Like I consider myself to be spiritual. I know it's not a religious experience, but what I'll say is this: I've seen, I have too much knowledge of stuff where I'm kind of like, and this is what getting blown up did to me. You got what I'm saying? I have too much knowledge on things, and so I can never look at things the same again. I can never look at things the same again. When I'm finding out, like, okay, Christmas isn't really, shouldn't even really be a thing, and it's just being commercialized, and that's, we teach our kids to lie to their kids or to live outside their means, but I'm not going to get on that train. What I'm saying to you is that I don't celebrate Christmas. I believe in an omnipotent being. I believe in God, but I can't get behind rhetoric. I just can't. And if I know for a fact that it's not true, oh, I'm not riding that train. I'm sorry. I'm not riding that train.
Interested, and that is essentially your approach to the military
Mm,
from that lens, because you're in there and you've been there and you're like, wait, I know how this thing
yeah,
actually operates. And even with that said, even within how the sectors kind of manage themselves individually, which lend to, even it's, and I don't know if that's separate for like the National Guard versus the other sections.
it is. The National Guard. So I need everybody to understand something. You believe you believe that this country is one thing. It's not. Each state is like its own country. That's why there are mayors at the top. That's why you have a Supreme Court for federal law, but you have a Supreme Court at state level. You got what I'm saying? That's why a lot of these states pick and choose whether they follow what the president say or not. This is a union. You get what I'm saying? It's 50 states that are under an umbrella. It's like 50 different companies. That's why from state to state, every law is different. Why wouldn't the law of the land be the same? But it's the same from one edge of Delaware to the same. But take you behind into freaking Pennsylvania. It's different. You could be licensed to carry in Pennsylvania. You can't carry it to Delaware. You can't carry it to Jersey. Because I'm telling you, it's all different. And the National Guard is not run by the military industrial complex isn't necessarily ran by the president. You get what I'm saying? But the National Guard is ran by the state. And ISIS, it's a federal organization, and that is why the governor can say, "Get out of my state." You get what I'm saying? And people don't understand. We don't even understand how government works. But once again, like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You get what I'm saying? That's why I don't argue with people about nothing, especially if I know the reality and you trying to argue your feelings to me because you don't like something. I'm not wasting my time. My time is too valuable. I almost lost my life.
Mm.
Every moment that I have is valuable. I chose to be here with you because you a good dude. You get what I'm saying? But I don't choose to be everywhere with everybody. You get what I'm saying? It's a difference. It's a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for that. I'm going to pivot a bit. Um, Although we're here, we're in the middle of the mind of the storm, right? I can tell that that's like we knee deep in it. We knee deep in it. In case you don't know, you watch your hats off with your boy G Dash Jones. I got the prolific poet. I got the owner, founder of Open Mics, veteran, all the things here with me, and now. So, okay, right? Of all the things that you see, right? You decided to say, hey, I'm going to start this podcast world where I have some of these conversations, right? Literally, yes, I'm diving into some loose talk a little bit, but that's the conversations generally when they come into the mind of the storm on any of your shows. It comes into an open forum format with these conversations, right? Where you got the one where you're talking about the military direct, you got the one with the live audience and the poetry there, and the poets are speaking there. You got this whole world. How did that come about, and what made you want to let people into the mind of storm, if you will?
I started. I invested in a local station, CMP, and I did that for a little while. It didn't necessarily uh, work out the way I thought it was going to work out, so I left there. But I still wanted the podcast and everything, and so I took one of my properties and I just set up shop, and I've been doing it here ever since. I formatted it the way that I formatted it because I believe in the open flow of conversation. I think we when we have conversation, it's like fellowship. When we have back in the day, Socrates and people like that, they didn't have classrooms full of people that was writing stuff down and everything. They had conversation. Their debates were verbal debates, and that's how people learned. You know what I mean? We can develop ideas together through conversation, and we can agree to disagree. But even sometimes in the midst of our conversation, I may have felt one way, but talking long enough, sometimes you start to realize, like, you know what? You have a point. That's when you're outside of yourself. And that's where realizing, when I say to you, I realize that I'm nothing, I can be wrong. I'm not right about everything. I don't know everything. I'm learning. I'm still going through life. It's a lifelong process to learn. You got what I'm saying? Sometimes uh I'm inspired by things that people say. We all are. You know what I mean? The difference is when you get inspired by something, do you just smile and you feel good in the moment and clap your hands and then they close the door and the inspiration go away? Or does that inspiration, plant a seed inside of you and you allow that to grow and you nourish it, you water it, you give it that sunlight so it can grow into like a branch of an idea that started. You got what I'm saying? Just to listening to somebody's podcast or listening to somebody's seeing somebody's meme with a short little blurb on it that you expanded upon in your mind. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, when you started, did you have all the shows from the rip, or did you kind of, or did it build out?
It's kind of like a build out. You know what I mean? We a lot of things we have to think about, of course. Okay, what is our topics going to be? How do we want to do this? It's easier. I think it's easier when we have a format. You got what I'm saying? It's way easier to have smooth conversation when you have a format. I don't even like to tell people what we talking about until they show up. You got what I'm saying? Because a lot of times I found that in my life, if I'm talking to you about something before we're talking about what we're talking about, you say all of these good things. You got what I'm saying? All of these nuggets can be dropped. All of these jewels can fall from somebody's lips. And then I turn the camera on, and now you've already said those things. Those old ideas and thoughts to you. Now we talking about something else, but I so urgently wish that everybody could have just heard that. You know? Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
we do come up with with topics and stuff like that, but we just wait till we all sit down and we just talk like we sitting at the dinner table or something, or we sitting on the porch, just getting it in and laughing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I told you I'm coming back.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
it's a great vibe, a great conversation to have. So I appreciate you for having that. Now, okay, right. This has been an amazing interview, a great, very informative in multiple ways.
yeah.
Um, Now I asked all my guests this, and I'm very curious what your answer is or how you answer this. But if you had to give advice to a younger version of yourself,
Mm,
but the year is 2025 and
mm,
all the 2025 things. So you think about like a younger you,
mm.
little Mikey Mike, young Storm in the building, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
again, 2025, all the 2025 things, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself?
Um, hmm, wow. I would definitely say, you know, mm, I would say don't allow like your loyalty to make you follow someone somewhere you know you don't need to be.
Mm,
I would definitely say that. In the process of like doing things for me, growing myself and trying to be a better person, I've realized that sometimes you got what I'm saying. I am a loyal person. You got what I'm saying? I'm a protector. I've always been a protector. Most of the jobs I've ever had in life is along that route. And so for me, you know, yeah, occasionally my loyalty has had me a couple times holding on to things I should have let go of. My loyalty had me maybe even, engaging a little more in conversations that I didn't want to be in. And the second thing I will possibly tell myself is, you know, you have to let people experience their pain. Let me tell you something. You cannot if if I sit here and I give you money every time you call me, I became your God. See, I took the place of God because you don't pray to him, you call me. You got what I'm saying? Every time you in the jam, you call me, but you need to be falling on your knees. You need to be having these personal conversations. And maybe through those personal conversations, you would do some honest introspection and figure out what you need to do instead of calling on me. Because one day I won't be here. And when I'm not here, then what? When I'm not,
Abs-
where do you go? You know, if anything, I wouldn't even be an omnipotent God because when I die, I leave you in a state of disarray. I leave you in a space where you can do nothing, and there's no heaven following me. You get what I'm saying? It's no heaven praying to me because sometimes I'm going to be your angel, and other times I'm going to be your demon. You see what I'm saying? Depending on how you feel in the moment.
mm, there we get to them feelings again.
Yep.
Back to
Yep.
the feelings again. God, and he didn't say depending on the reality at the time. He
Yeah.
said depending on your
Yep.
feelings at the
Yep.
moment. That's
Because
that.
I'm gonna be consistent. That's the whole thing for me. I'm always who I am. I'll always be consistent. Your feelings, however, won't be. So even though you're looking at the same person who would have did the same exact thing, you're just feeling differently today. You get what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is phenomenal. Now, I tell all my guests, and it don't stop on season 4. Just because we hit season 4, it don't stop. Hats off with your boy G Dash Jones. I tell people, if you give me a word, I give you a poem. Now, caveat: when I have a poet on my show,
Mhm.
okay, I tell that poet, if you give me a poem, I can give you I can give you a poem. Now you can either give me a word or a poem. My poets have an option. So if you want to give me a word, you can give me a word. If you want to give me a poem, you give me a poem. Now, why you think of that? I like to do what I call a quick hat tip. Blip blip. So the quick hat tip. Blip blip. This is when I show some love, give some flowers, give some gratitude to some people who do some things, been doing some things, or some things that's been done. Now, first and foremost, I'm gonna go ahead and give a quick hat tip. Blip blip to my man Manny Ramos. Yes, if y'all don't know Ramos Art Gallery, I'm gonna show you something. Bombs. Look at what Ramos did. Look at what Ramos did for me. You see what I'm saying? Y'all see him. If y'all don't know about Baldwin, look him up. Listen, Bow got the mic on the arm. Okay, Ass Cannabis about the mic on the arm. We there. Okay, G Dash Jones is here. Y'all see it? Y'all see it? Bow. What even on the yeah mean? I said on the yeah mean. It looked like it would say y'all can't see it. It say I'm thinking. Well, y'all know the rest. Either way, salute to my man Manny. Okay, Ramos Art. Bow. Even on the back, it got some words. Boom. Bow. I'm gonna tell you. There it is. Yes,
Trust
yes,
me.
yes. So I got to give a quick hat tip to them. Check out Ramos Art Gallery on Etsy and get yourself something. Like you ain't gonna get this one. You ain't gonna get this one, but you might get yourself something nice. Hat tip to him. Also, hat tip, blip blip. Yes, hat tip to my man Andy. Listen, my man Andy, he was over at he's gonna be my guest next week over at the Chris White Gallery. They had this exhibit called For All the Dogs, right? I walked in there barking. I'm lying. I didn't. But I did have, it was a conversation. They had 20 male artists do an exhibit, all contribute to the exhibit. And they had a panel of 7 of them talking about masculinity, having a conversation about how they view positive masculinity from their perspective. Um, a gentleman named Michael of the Lee, salute to him. Me and him were moderating the panel. He had some amazing questions. Dr. Tracy Curry was up in there. She kind of helped organize the whole situation. Fire. So salute to the For All My Dogs panel. All of that was fire. Absolutely. Mm. Now I also got to give a quick hat tip. Blip blip. Yes, a quick hat tip. Blip blip. To DJ Killer Noise, he had me on this show, kind of going over. We got into the old hip hop conversation. We was talking about what the difference is, how hip hop done changed and grown, and of course I talked about my poetry and all that. That was fire. Late night grind up in UD. My man John Tees and them. Hat tip to them. They had us up there. I was talking about the Battle of the Arts, so I had to chop it up. all the things. Also, my man D Spence. You don't know D Spence, okay? You might not know. Y'all don't know if you know him. If you don't know him, Storm, I need you to get to know D Spence. He is a prolific poet from Dover, but he be doing the things, okay? He be doing the things down there. He's up at the Nomad. He be hosting, doing the open mic at the Nomad. Probably like first Wednesday. Seems like it might be every other month or something. Either
Yeah.
way, it's back in March. Listen, we was up in there. He was up in there rocking. I had Yolanda up there. Look, man, listen, she was up in there just spitting the words coming. People was feeling all emotional. You getting a little choked up. You know when you hear that good poetry, get you a little choked up. That's what was happening. Okay, on the first Wednesday, she snapped out. That was fire. Salute to the Delaware Music Network. They also have their open mic the first Wednesday. That happened as well. And there's a poet named Christian Anthem who does his at I want to say it was at Chelsea's Tavern this Wednesday. So yeah, salute to all the poets poeting around here. And last but not least, right? Um, I gotta give a hat tip, blip blip, to a gentleman who a poet, a host, um, mm, excuse me, a podcast host, if you will. Um, Also, poet, podcast host, veteran, fighting for the country. That taught me some stuff on this show right here. Okay, on this show right here, we was talking about some things, breaking it down. Val Andon had me on his show, exposing himself. All of that, I gotta give myself. I gotta give myself a quick hat tip to the man, the myth, the storm, brother Michael Storm. Yes, brother, hat tip to you. Blip, blip. Okay, okay, hat tip to you. Is there anybody you would like to give a hat tip to?
Um, to everybody who came out to partake in this conversation this evening, and also to you, because without you, I wouldn't be here meeting all of your peoples. You
Well,
get,
I appreciate that, good brother.
I appreciate.
Thank you, thank you. Now I have to ask, as it says in the comments, a poem, or you give me a poem, or you give me a word.
Um, I'll do a poem. I'm working on an animated series, and as I said, I'm doing like the whole veteran thing. I'm doing my veteran poems, and suicide is really big amongst the veteran community. 17 vets commit suicide each day. You got what I'm saying, and that is like an epidemic if I ever seen one. I actually just had one of my friends take his life back in July, and I hate to be all, but suicide is a real thing. It's a real thing, and it doesn't just happen to vets. So you would have to forgive me if I mess up a little bit, just simply because I didn't know you did words or a poem, but I like to share it. And the animation should actually be done by the end of this month, so um, I'll be putting that out as soon as I get it. I'm trying to get it into a couple of film festivals. So
Eh, eh, Now, and just so you know what to expect, when you finish, I'm just going to start.
okay, cool. So this is called Warrior Cry. If a warrior cries in the middle of the night and no one is around to hear him, does he make a sound? Who knew that a moment of silence could be so loud? Who knew that the darkest of loneliness could be found in a crowd of people who say that they care, yet too emotionally ill equipped to handle with care the jagged edges of a warrior with no more missions, only crosses to bear? A warrior who cries out during nightmares, yet silent within a reality thrusted upon him without the proper tools to survive. You see, this feeling is intrusive, like bullets trespassing through unsuspecting skin. Like sins of the Father visited upon the Son, and those footsteps in the darkness are catching up, you see. Warriors were never taught to run. We're taught to be oxymorons, walking dead. Sanity becomes a needless necessity when coming home labeled a hero against one's will. If a warrior kills for his country, then who do we hold accountable for the blood that is spilled? Just who do we hold accountable for the countless souls we are commissioned to steal? Just who do we hold accountable for the countless tears cried in the darkness, spark aggression, imploding, self loathing? The image leered upon with disdain through a toothpaste stained mirror. You see, we hold these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, except for warriors labeled veterans in the eyes of we the people. So now I ask you, if a warrior loads his gun in the middle of the night and no one is around to hear, does he make a sound? When damaged to the point of no return, do we ignore the force and let the fire burn under the logic that the fire will eventually burn itself out? Insert warrior and take the word fire out. You see, it's a war going on. The battlefield is a place that we call home, and it's beyond me how we have so many casualties and closets full of bone and flesh. Somewhere, death almost feels like a warm bath in a phone call home, where no warrior is ever left behind. You see, we are only left alone in that empty abyss of thank you for your freaking service. Left sitting in a waiting room to be put on pills, trying to convert to living life from kill or be killed. So I ask you, if a warrior shoots his gun in the middle of the night and no one is around to hear, when his body hits the floor, will it finally make a sound that this whole world can hear? 7,403 vets commit suicide each year. That's one hero every 65 minutes. If you close your eyes tight enough and you listen really hard, maybe this time you can actually hear it.
I'm thinking, I'm thinking, I'm thinking. Okay, I pause for a minute because that silence matters. Like, what if I don't hear those cries? What if I only hear the lies? What if I don't hear that feeling in my heart when the brain shattered? What if I don't miss the moment that they could have had if they were still here, that they could have held on to that laughter? Instead, they're in the after. Life is so precious, right? Well, to me, I'm trying to figure out whether it was the same now for the warrior, for the veteran, or for the knight. Sitting at the round table trying to figure out who's able or who will be stable or who they will make do what they have to. Understanding that what they do will allow you to do what you want to. Hmm. It's so deep when those intrusives confront you. They're telling you that that afterlife is what wants you, and now those are lost souls that don't get to grow old are the only thing that seems to haunt you. Well, what do those ghosts do? I pause for a second because they sit in silence. In that same moment, I have to make noise because those deployed, when they hear nothing, they tend to hear violence. It's so much to keep it all together. Have you tried it? It's so much to face yourself without being lost in a way that makes your feelings make your reality feel defiant. Have you tried it? And when I say it, I'm not asking you where your ego went or how your pride sits or if you drown yourself, will you be able to pull yourself up out with that trident? Nah, it hits in your naval bases. I mean, it hits so they can see it from their naval bases, and now they hear the screams from what they assume don't feel the Marines. It's in the core, right? It's something that they said that they have seen many times before, right? But I mean, obviously, they only give you the salacious clips because if they give you the truth, you would probably tell them that they're lying because you're so enamored with saving Private Ryan. You didn't ask who was behind him dying. You didn't ask who, after that moment, still went home and was steady every night, waking up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., crying, trying to feed his family, but can't pick up his baby because when she screams too loud from her regular crying, he flips. And now you judging him just a tad bit. Now you thinking that that's a lifestyle that you automatically understand it because you've received all the lies that they have handed. Well, damn it. I'm trying to figure out how you can help your brother gain some structure, how you can look at your brother and make sure that he knows that you love him, how you can look at your brother and your sister and understand that regardless of how they painted that picture, when you over there, y'all brothers, you're not just another, however you feel that blank, however you feel that space, however you feel that silence. Feel that silence, please. Fill it with love, pour into that cup because there's a warrior that needs to be humanized, which means there is a spirit that is a soul that is in need. Oh. I mean, you did that. We was there. Like you saw me. We was there. Listen. We was in a whole nother spot now. I was somewhere else. So listen.
I could have took you to the. I had a couple performances at the Kimmel Center. I was like, yeah, I could have took you to the Kimmel Center there, man. I could have took you to the Kimmel Center with that one.
Well, next time, take me, okay?
Yes,
I'm available. I'm available for Kimmel, the Kimmel Center, Jimmy Kimmel, all the Kimmels. Okay, I'm willing. Oh man, this has been an amazing interview, an amazing conversation. Again, to me, an amazing way to kick off season 4. Couldn't happen any better way. Anything you want to say to the people before we get up out of here?
Yes. What I'm going to say is, when we were talking about the National Guard and everything else, I saw like a lot of comments popping up. I couldn't really read it. I want to tell people whenever you get in, and they always tell you, never get involved in conversations of religion, politics, and stuff like that. Because a lot of times we start getting in our bag and feeling a certain type of way. People tend to go like back and forth. So anything that's ever said, when somebody puts out an idea, you can hear it. It doesn't mean you have to take it in. That's it. Don't let anybody drive your feelings. Be in control of yourself if you can.
Yeah, listen. I agree with you. My favorite part about that is there are things that can be looked up, and people can
Yeah.
they can look at the reality, right? So that was the messaging for me of how a lot of that plays out. So, but again, thank you so much for being a phenomenal guest.
Well,
Thank you all for tuning in. This has been an amazing episode of Hats Off. Again, tomorrow, check out the Delaware Music Network. Saturday, check me out, Poetry Battle. I will be hosting February 14th, Battle of the Hearts, art battle, poetry battle, wing competition, just a whole world over at Christina Cultural Arts Center. Just check us out, see what we got going on. Also, next week, I'll be back with another episode of Hats Off with G Jones, because we back on season 4. And I got the gentleman, Andy. We talking art. We talking big art talk. So we going to go ahead and kind of go ahead and get it in. Again, once again, and I got to thank Storm for being a phenomenal guest. As I tell people, as always, love yourself first and everything else will fall into place. I'll see y'all next week.